Good morning. It's good to be here and to be here with you. I'm Karen Hebel, and I'm a member of the UU Fellowship of Clemson's Worship Associate Team and the Director of Lifespan Faith Formation. Each week, this community comes together to participate in worship, music, and reflection. This is where we seek to have our hearts opened and our imaginations fired. This is the place that reminds us that we are deeply connected to one another and to all living things. Even though our building is closed, we gather together for weekly online worship. At 11:30 a.m. on Sunday mornings, we also gather for social connection and the sharing of joys and concerns in our Zoom meeting. Please join us. If you are joining us for the first time this morning, welcome. This fellowship is a religious community grounded in the heritage and principles of Unitarian Universalism. We seek to create loving community, inspire joy and spiritual growth, and support courageous action. All are welcome, regardless of religious background, political persuasion, ethnicity, age, ability, sexual orientation, or gender identity or expression. If you have a desire to explore questions of truth and meaning and are respectful of our diversity of people and beliefs, you've found kindred spirits here. If you'd like more information about this fellowship or about Unitarian Universalism, please visit our website, uufc.org. If you are interested in getting our weekly newsletter so you can get connected to our community for online social events, our weekly sharing of joys and concerns, and our collective efforts to support local social justice work, please reach out to the office by the email on our website. Here are some announcements for the week. Valentine's bake sale ordering is underway until February 9th, which means you have 3 more days to place your order. The link for the selection list and order information can be found in the Weekly Connection and on the homepage of our website. Links for our regular Zoom meetings, such as the Sunday Social Hour, Bingo, and Coffee with Christina, can also be found in the Weekly Connection. The class Unitarian Universalism 101 Sources begins next Sunday, February 14th at 5 p.m. Also next Sunday, there will be a virtual Valentine's Day chocolate tasting at 7 p.m. 2 new covenant groups are also open for registration, Parenting While UU and Dismantling White Supremacy. More information and links for signing up for all of these classes and groups can be found in the Weekly Connection and on our website.
Hello, my name is Reverend Christina Branham Martin, and I'm the interim minister here at the Fellowship of Clemson. It is so good to be able to bring this worship service to you today. It was made in collaboration with the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee, also known as the UUSC. I know about the UUSC from a time that I went on a work trip to Haiti to work with other farmers and organizations partnering with people in Haiti building homes in eco-villages. It was an amazing experience, and I've been so impressed with the UUSC over the years with their programs all over the world. One of the long-standing programs of the UUSC is the Guest at Your Table program. Many of you may remember in years past the small cardboard boxes that have a small coin slot at the top for you to take home and put your spare change into, and then that is collected and then donated back to the Guest at Your Table program. We don't have boxes to give out this year given the pandemic, so we ask if you'd like to make a donation that you can do so with the donate button on the fellowship's homepage, or mail in a check with Guest at Your Table in the memo. But let me tell you more about the Guest at Your Table program for this year. This particular service helps us learn about how we as a fellowship can partner with UUSC, and the meaning and the theme of this year is the meaning of home. Let me read to you the description of this theme. For many of us, our relationship with home has intensified this year. The pandemic has given many of us new appreciation for and concerns about places we call home and the centrality of these places in our lives. This year, during Guest at Your Table, we invite you to witness stories of our partners around the world as they tell you about home. Our partners in Central America are working to make sure that no one is forced to flee their home due to violence or economic devastation. Our partners in Alaska, Louisiana, and the Pacific are fighting for their homes and ancestral lands against the ravages of extractive industries and climate change. And our partners in Burma, Bangladesh, and beyond are working tirelessly to support the rights of the Rohingya ethnic minority of Burma after facing government-backed genocide in their homeland. The ways in which our Unitarian Universalist congregations and families come together may look different, but the beloved tradition of Guest at Your Table is here and needs your support. We are so pleased to bring this service to you today.
Good morning and welcome. My name is Derek Wilmot, and I'm President-elect for the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Clemson. Let us begin worship with these opening words, Welcoming the Stranger, by Tracy Blickney and Teresa I. Soto. The original version is in English by Tracy Blickney, traducción en español por Teresa Soto. A child journeys far from home, fearful and brave, in need of safe harbor. Guided by this chalice, may we seek to understand the causes of flight, like the comfort of a candle flickering in a window of darkness. Let us welcome this child into our home with warmth, nourishment, and love. Would we not want the same for our own child, lost and alone in a strange land? Un niño viaja lejos de su casa, temeroso y valiente, careciendo de un puerto de asilo. Guiados por este cáliz, tratemos de comprender las casas de huir, como el consuelo de una vela encendida en una ventana oscura. Demos bienvenida a este niño a nuestra casa con simpatía, alimento y cariño. No quisiéramos lo mismo por nuestro propio niño perdido y solo en tierra extranjera.
Hi, my name's Rhonda Powell. I'm the chair of the RE committee at the UUFC. This is my son Finn and my daughter Remy. And we're here this morning to light our chalice. And we hope you'll join us in reciting the words of our unison affirmation. We gather together in the spirit of love with justice as our guide. This is our chosen covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in freedom, and to care for one another.
Hi, friends. In today's story, I want to introduce you to 4 people who live in very different parts of the world, but who are all working for fairness, respect, and justice. Even though we don't have a chance to meet them in person, I want you to imagine they are coming over for dinner with you and your family. Think of them as a dinner guest, telling you an interesting story over a big plate of your favorite food. All over the country, other kids like you are imagining the same dinner party and learning about the same people as part of a program called Guest at Your Table. The program is a chance to learn about 4 courageous people making a difference in their communities. This year, the 4 people we are going to meet are Adela, Mark, Chief Cherelle, and Suja. First, I want to introduce you to Adela, who lives in Guatemala. Over the past several years, the area Adela lives in has had a lot of people migrate or leave to go to another country. Many people are having to leave because there aren't enough jobs or enough food. Unfortunately, not having enough food to survive is not considered a good enough reason for someone to be welcomed into the United States, and many people are turned away and forced to return to Guatemala. Adela works to support people in the country so that the conditions are better and more fair. She also supports people who've been forced to return after migrating, who face the difficulty of returning to their homes after being away for many months or even years. Adela especially helps kids and teenagers who are returning to Guatemala. Next, I want to tell you about Mark, a scientist in the Marshall Islands. The Marshall Islands are a small chain of islands in the Pacific Ocean that are experiencing environmental damages, making it more and more difficult to live there. Because of climate change or human-made damages to the environment, the sea is at a higher level than it used to be, and flooding is becoming worse and worse. In his work, Mark teams up with members of his community in the Marshall Islands to collect information about the flooding and safe drinking water. This information is used to help build protections so that people do not have to leave their homes, and also help community members determine when flooding might become bad enough that they do have to move to a higher location or to a different country entirely. Some of these choices are hard to make, but it helps when people have all the information they need to be able to make the best decision they can for themselves. The third person I want to share with you about is Chief Cherelle, the leader of an Indian tribe in southern Louisiana, which can trace its ancestors back to the very first people we know of that lived in the area. Like Mark, Chief Cherelle is facing damages to her home from climate change and other human-caused activity. Being along the Louisiana coast, Chief Cherelle's community is losing land to the water, and the increase in salt water is also damaging trees and the land they use for hunting and farming. In the face of these challenges, Chief Cherelle is fighting for her people and lands. She works together with others to tell people what is happening to her community and advocate for support so they can build the protections they need to protect the land. Lastly, I want to introduce you to Suja, who's from Burma, which is also known as Myanmar. This is a country in Southeast Asia that borders China, Thailand, and India. Burma has a huge diversity of ethnic groups, people who practice similar traditions to each other. But the groups that have smaller populations face a lot of discrimination, which is limitations on their freedom and even danger. For example, Suja practices a different religion than the majority of people in the country, and because of this, he was prevented from completing school in Burma. When he protested and asked for a chance to continue with school, he was arrested and held in jail for more than a week. He was only a teenager when this happened. After he was let out of jail, he was afraid for his life and left the country. It was difficult to find services and build a new life elsewhere, but when he eventually did, he worked with others to create an organization supporting other refugees going through similar struggles. Together, they're creating a community that helps each other, even though they're far away from home. I hope these stories were a chance to learn about the challenges this year's 4 guests are facing and how they're fighting back for what is fair and what is right. Through Guest at Your Table, your congregation and other congregations around the country are helping to provide these guests with the resources to do their work. Together, we can make a better and fairer world. Thank you.
Dear friends, let us pause for a moment for some quiet reflection, prayer, and meditation. These words are adapted from a reading called Hope Does Dwell by Elizabeth Nguyen. Spirit of life, who makes peace out of war, who wanders with refugees and keeps vigil with children at our border and all borders. Holy healer in hospitals, in shelters, at schools, at homes. May your love be the balm for all the hurt. May your truth be present in offices of power and in the hearts of soldiers and civilians alike. Many times we've thought the arc was bending towards justice. Many times we saw it happen in courtrooms and in streets and in the hearts of people creating their own liberation. And many times we have also doubted. For those of us this morning who doubt, who despair, who worry that brokenness and suffering and war may win, remind us of the small mercies, the tiny triumphs, and that hope does dwell in the world. Amen, and may it be so.
Circle round for freedom, circle round for peace, for all of us imprisoned, circle for release, circle for the planet, circle for its all, for the children of our children. Keep the circle Circle round for freedom. Circle round for peace. For all of us imprisoned. Circle for release. Circle for the planet. Circle for its soul. For the children of our children. Keep the circle whole. Circle round for freedom. Circle round for peace. For all of us imprisoned. Circle for release. Circle for the planet. Circle for its soul. For the children of our children. Keep the circle whole.
I come from a musical place.
Where they shoot me for my song.
And my brother has been tortured.
By my brother in my land.
I come from a beautiful place.
Where they hate my shade of skin.
They don't like the way I pray.
And they ban free poetry.
I come from a beautiful place.
Where girls cannot go to school.
There you are told what to believe.
And even young boys must grow beards.
I come from a great old forest.
I think it is now a field.
And the people I once knew
are not there now.
We can all be refugees.
Nobody is safe.
All it takes is a mad leader.
Or no rain to bring forth food.
We can all be refugees.
We can all be told to go.
We can all be hated by someone.
For being someone.
I come from a beautiful place.
Where the valley floods each year.
And each year the hurricane tells us
that we must keep moving on.
I come from an ancient place.
All my family were born there.
And I would like to go there. But I really want to live.
I come from a sunny, sandy place.
Where tourists go to darken skin.
And dealers like to sell guns there.
I just can't tell you what's the price.
I am told I have no country now.
I am told I am a lie.
I'm told that modern history books
may forget my name.
We can all be refugees.
Sometimes it only takes a day.
Sometimes it only takes a handshake.
Or a paper that is signed.
We all came from refugees.
Nobody simply just appeared.
Nobody's here without a struggle.
And why should we live in fear?
Of the weather or the troubles.
We all came here from somewhere.
I now present to you Reverend Laura Randall, the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee's Associate Director of Development for Congregational Relations. And this sermon that she shares with us today It was written by her and with contributions from Solote Soko, UUSC's Senior Partnership Officer with Climate Justice, David Angeles, the Senior Partnership Officer of the Crisis Response, and Lindsay Homan, the Senior Partnership Officer for Migrant Justice.
There is a large stain on the bathroom ceiling, peeling wallpaper in the bedroom, and the linoleum witnessed the Nixon administration. My home is filled with creaks, clutter, and too much dog hair, and I love it. I know my family and I are among the most privileged in the world right now. I have work and the ability to get work from home. I have running water, electricity, and the space outside for a few raised vegetable beds. In some ways, my physical world has gotten so very small in these last months. Seeing the same rooms and the same patch of earth so consistently, unceasingly, is a new experience for me. The urge to go somewhere, anywhere, is strong. And yet, I've never had more appreciation for the space my family and I call home. These unremarkable walls keep us warm and hold all the gratitude and anxiety these times have created in us. With all the uncertainty and upheaval surrounding us now, I've never been more aware of the importance of home, the importance of a place of shelter, stability, and belonging. Not all of us have this experience of home. For some of us, home is or was anything but stable and welcoming. Home can be dangerous. And I know there are some of us who work essential jobs who've had to leave their homes to keep their families safe from this virus. There are also those of us for whom that kind of separation isn't an option, and therefore whole families are bearing the risk of exposure. Some of us never feel safe in our homes, knowing that at any moment, state agents could burst through the door to arrest us or kill us. And then there are the many of us who find ourselves in the liminal space of no permanent home at all. Home is complicated. It is a place and it is a longing. It is a physical structure and it is a community of people. It is an anchor and an imagined ideal. Home is a fundamental necessity and an evolving act of creativity. Home is the foundation upon which we build our lives and the outcome of countless generative acts of love and repair. The work of the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee, or UUSC, is fundamentally about home in so many ways. This has been true since our founding 80 years ago, when the Unitarian Service Committee partnered with Jewish refugees and political dissidents in Europe in an effort to get as many people fleeing the Nazi regime as possible to safety. Today, our work focuses on climate-forced displacement, crisis response, and migrant justice. These issues may seem unrelated at first glance, but they are, at their core, all about home. The right to security within our homes, the right to restore our homes when they've been ravaged by natural or human-made disaster, and the right to seek a new home elsewhere. The 4 UUSC partners highlighted in this year's Guest at Your Table program each share stories that are primarily about the homes they are fighting for. Be that the villages they are trying to salvage from the effects of climate change, the communities they are trying to hold together as they navigate disaster and persecution, or the necessity of finding a new place to call home away from unremitting violence and economic devastation.
Chief Cherelle Parfait Dada, chief of the Grand Kalyu Dulek Band of the Biloxi Chitimacha Choctaw Tribe in southern Louisiana, has been advocating for a community for as long as she can remember. She has seen the land her tribe calls home drastically change in her lifetime as rising sea levels, oil and gas extraction, and natural disasters have claimed homes and destroyed the farmlands her tribe depends on for sustenance. Recently, Chief Cherelle joined with other First Nations and Indigenous peoples facing similar losses and damages and risks of climate displacement to take their fight all the way to the United Nations. Chief Cherelle explains, "We have joined together with our Alaska Native relatives to bring awareness to the damages caused by greed and selfishness with a complete disregard for Mother Earth and all living beings. We are showing the world that you do not have to just sit by and watch our planet, our health, and lifeways be destroyed." Thousands of miles away, Mark Steggy, climate researcher with UUSC partner organization Joe Jiggum, is working on similar climate issues facing communities in the Marshall Islands. As a native Marshallese and an Indigenous scientist, Mark is committed to centering his people's knowledge, experiences, and wisdom in understanding and addressing the impacts that the climate crisis is affecting on their home. Collaboration is key to handling complexity, and so I've been motivated to develop the tools for collaboration by sharing and adapting both Western and Indigenous knowledge to promote innovation and identity, says Mark. Just as UUSC partners with those to save their homes, we also partner with those who have been forced to find a new home elsewhere.
Since 2017, over 700,000 Rohingya Muslims from the Rakhine State in Burma have been forced to flee their homes into neighboring countries due to the genocide perpetrated by the Burmese military. Suja Karimuddin was compelled to escape his home as a teenager after being detained and tortured by Burmese state officials. Suja struggles with a longing to return to his homeland, but has found strength within the Rohingya diaspora community, knowing that even in the depths of loss, they can be a bit of home for one another. We try to build that sense of community wherever we are, wherever we live, Suja says. Towards that end, Suja co-founded the Elam Empowerment Community Center, now a UUSC partner organization. Elam Empowerment is a Rohingya-led community center based in Malaysia that conducts youth capacity building trainings and facilitates food distribution for Rohingya refugees in and around Kuala Lumpur. According to Suja, the goal of Elam Empowerment is to provide a safe space for Rohingya refugees to come and breathe, a space where they can come and feel free.
Many Central American migrants are seeking a place they can feel free as well. Residents of Central American countries such as Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras, and Nicaragua are still dealing with the aftermath of intense civil wars, some of which lasted decades, and which targeted the indigenous communities of those countries along with poor farmers. To this day, extractive mining and drilling industries, drought exacerbated by climate change, and deadly domestic and state-sponsored violence are forcing people from their homes and across borders. Women, LGBTQI+ people, and indigenous communities are particularly vulnerable to these factors that lead people to have to build a home elsewhere. Adela Ramirez, a human rights advocate with UUSC's partner in Guatemala, Asociación Popnoch, says, "The majority of people here live in conditions that are not good, and poverty prevents them from fully living their lives. People cross the border in search of new opportunities for their families. That is why we at Popnoch always say that migrating is an act of love."
Migration is an act of love. And this act of love is being met by increasing cruelty and xenophobia by the United States. Decades of draconian and deadly U.S. immigration policies are culminating in crowded detention centers, which provide ideal breeding grounds for COVID-19, a near complete dismantling of the asylum system, the destruction of a humanitarian aid station in the Arizona desert by Border Patrol agents, the dismantling of due process and deportation proceedings, and still the continuation of family separation. Not only are these actions cowardly, hard-hearted, and small-minded, they are also a fundamental denial of a truth that could not be clearer. We are all connected. Those of us privileged enough to currently have relatively safe and stable homes are reflecting on the centrality of such places in our lives, especially now. Does the possibility of losing this home seem as distant as it once did? Can we imagine the results of climate change making our homes uninhabitable in the near future? Or what about government policies making it impossible to stay? This is already the reality for some of us. And for others of us, these potentialities no longer seem improbable. This is a lot to take in. The question now is, can we channel this uncertainty, this fear, into empathy and commitment? Can we approach these challenges with a spirit of collaboration and determination? Can we recognize our interdependence enough to realize that our homes, our health, and our lives are all inexorably connected? I think we can. We must. Remember poet Benjamin Zephaniah's words. We can all be refugees. Sometimes it only takes a day. Sometimes it only takes a handshake or a paper that is signed. We can all become refugees. Nobody simply just appeared. Nobody's here without a struggle. And why should we live in fear of the weather or the troubles? We all came here from somewhere. Nobody simply just appeared. We all came from somewhere. This earth is our home. Some of us live on the same patch of land our ancestors called home for millennia. Others of us have called this land home for a few generations, if that. Some of us long for a distant home we remember from our youth, and others of us have always lived in the town we now call home. Regardless of the miles between us, this earth is our home. The distress of our planet and the turmoil of our societies, these are the circumstances we find ourselves in, regardless of what we wish were true instead. Our relationships to our homes have dramatically intensified this year. Do we have the courage to turn that intensity into compassion? Can we feel, not just know, but feel the primacy of the value that everyone, everywhere, has the right to self-determination and safety in their homes? Some essential part of everyone longs for a sense of peace, a sense of belonging, a sense of rightness that can be described in no way other than home. At UUSC, we will continue to honor that longing and fight for the right of people to claim, create, and be home. I want to lift up Chief Cherelle, Mark, Suja, and Adela once again. I want to acknowledge both the loss and the resilience in their stories. What home means is changing and evolving for many of us. With courage, imagination, and determination, the home we help co-create with all of Earth's people will be one of more kindness, more gratitude, and more justice. Please join me in saying, Amen and blessed be.
We extinguish our chalice today with these words. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.